Continue back a little bit on my scripture lesson, which was to be devoted to one another in brotherly love. Light workers is a term we use loosely around here. Light workers can mean a lot of things to different people, and you are all on different levels of light workers. A light worker could be something as simple as bringing light to a child who's crying because he hurt his knee, or to a woman who's having difficulty crossing across the street and you help her. Or in the grocery store and trying to pick up those 2 gallons of water that I struggle with every week, and having, noticing it and helping her putting it on the carriage means a lot, trust me. But those are also forms of light workers. Of course, here at the church we teach a lot. This is a training center, so we do teach more advanced. For those of you who are not familiar with us, we do teach psychic training, we do teach meditations, we do teach self-healing and Reiki, different forms of Reiki levels, all the way to master Reiki. We do have our speakers come periodically for these special trainings. But the essence behind being a light worker, as I said, means to just bring a smile to somebody's face during the week. Just acknowledge somebody. If there's somebody in your family you haven't thought of for a while, by all means call them. Say, hey, by the way, you just happen to be on my mind. But I know this is hard because I too have friends, you say, well, gee, so-and-so's birthday's coming, and the day comes and goes, and 5 days go by, and say, oh gosh, I forgot to call. But try to be a presence of other people, because that's really what brotherhood is about. What we want to do, sometimes we have issues with people, like in our family, we'll have bickering. I mean, does anybody not bicker with a family member? Anybody never have an issue? I don't think so. It could be when you're little and you're beating up your brother because he took your bicycle and brought it back with a flat tire. So even you guys, you have these issues, and you have to say to yourself, well, what am I going to do about it? You don't want to harbor grievances. You don't want to harbor ill feelings throughout many years, because it happens in many families. When that happens, what happens is you're not only robbing yourself of knowing that person, of having the pleasure of that relationship and the warmth of it, but you're also closing off your heart to other people, to other good things that can happen to you, and you don't want to close your heart. That's why we do work on our chakras. That's why we open our chakra centers. We want our heart chakra as open as we can get it. We don't want to be patsies for other people, but that's not what that's about. The light worker is one that moves above the petty grievances, the mundane things. You ever see, what was that movie with Archie Bunker? What was that series that was on that episode? All in the Family. You know how they, him and Judith, they bickered. I happen to have parents like that. They bickered. It could be over the cord of the coffee pot. It was like, you put it there. No, you did. No, you did. And it'll go on for like 20 minutes. I'm like, guys, what are you doing? I could be 10 years old, and I remember saying, what are you guys talking about? Take the cord and move it. So it was silly things like that. You get hung up on these mundane things, and you say to yourself, what is going on? And you want to release that, because what is it doing? In Italian, we say you get agita. Every time you're getting upset about something somebody's saying to you, you're bringing up that agita. And when you have agita, that's our word for indigestion. When you have agita, you cannot move forward in harmony. It just can't happen. And they've proven this in the schools, where they get pets for kids that are troublesome behaviors, and they assign these pets to the children in middle school and on up. And if those children don't come into school, if they skip a day, that pet doesn't get to eat. And so they form responsibility and a bond with that pet. And they find that by bonding with the pet, those children's aggressive behaviors actually decline, because you can't be petting an animal and stroking it at the same time and be upset. It just doesn't go. So it's been very therapeutic to have animals as pets to resolve some of this dis-ease, as we call it, when you get that agita. What you have to do is really leave your ego at home. As we say, ego is what? Edgy, God out. Okay, so we don't want to do that. And we're all guilty of it at all times. Now, I'll give you an example of myself. I consider myself pretty evolved spiritually. I do a lot of my own meditation. I'm very internal. Those of you who know me know that. But when I have an issue, I have to go inside myself and resolve it. But I remember one time I was working. It was a Friday afternoon, and you know how that is when you're tired, you're hungry, you've been working all week, and you can't wait to get home and kick off the clothes and relax. And I was stopping to pick up a prescription at the drugstore. And you know how you drive in the window, And there was a girl ahead of me. She got her pill, and I was anxious. So the minute that she got the window closed, you know how you anticipate it, her window closed, and she was going to move forward, I hit, my car, and I was moving forward. But for some reason, she stopped, and she didn't keep going. So of course, I bumped her bumper. It wasn't any damage or anything like that. But now here I am, already frustrated in front, and she got out yelling at me. So I was so tired and irritated. I got out. I was ready to fight. And I'm thinking, this is like just a year and a half ago. And I'm thinking, good God, I'm supposed to be spiritual. What am I doing? Why are you fighting with this woman? But I was so tired and so depleted, you kind of lose it. Fortunately, the man who saw all this inside the poor pharmacist says, the lady in front was supposed to keep going. She wasn't supposed to stop. But I don't know what she did. She must have stopped to put her money in her pocket or something. But I lost it. And I was ashamed of myself. I was, oh my God, what's happening to me? I really better go home and go to sleep. I'm really shot, kind of thing. But we do get worn out, and we lose, even though we know this intellectually, we lose the ability to do it. So the problem is, walking our talk is not easy. And I like to value myself, or I like to pride myself into thinking that I walk my talk. So when I see other people that are hurt, I will reach out to them. And I'll give you another example. And this is really ironic. I was in a nightclub one night, and a bunch of people were sitting around a table, male and female, and somebody got up to dance, and this lady came and sat in their seat. And so they said, ma'am, you're in my seat, get out. And she says, I don't see anything there. And she started a big fight about the seat. I mean, these are middle-aged people. These are not children, right? These are not teenagers. So everybody at the table was getting antagonistic toward her, and they were ready to fight back. And I realized that nobody would act like that in public unless they have a big problem. So I really did see through this that night. Maybe it was the drink relaxed me, I don't know. But I took her aside and started talking to her, and it turned out she had a million issues. She'd just been divorced, she was afraid to be out, she didn't know how to handle herself, et cetera, et cetera. We had a nice conversation for 5 or 10 minutes, and after that, everything was pleasant. Everybody invited her back to the table. Several reasons. One, she calmed down, but two is they follow your role model. They follow how you treat other people. And this is something I've seen over and over again. So you have to be the leader, you have to be the light worker. If there's somebody suffering and you see people ridiculing them in your group of friends, be the one to step out and take that risk. One time I was coming back, I was teaching, I was actually teaching in Ecuador. I came back from, where did we stop? In Panama. And I had an issue there trying to get back. I had a rough time. I had a really thick book like this. It was a statistics book that I was teaching from, and it was 2003, so it was right after 2001. Of course, the security was high. And apparently my suitcase went through the radar, but this book was so thick they thought it was some kind of lead box or something. And they called, and I didn't speak good Spanish, I spoke some, but when you speak to a native Spanish and they're mad at you and they're yelling, and these 3 guards are in uniforms and they're coming, Dr. Farada, Dr. Farada, and oh my God, and they came and they took my bag and they said, follow me, and I'm following them to this other room, and they made me open the suitcase, and then when they found it was the book, and they let me back on the plane. Well, needless to say, that whole, I thought I was going to miss my plane. That whole episode really upset me. So I said, I want to get back to Miami. I don't care what happens. I just want to kiss the ground in Miami. That's all. Well, anyways, I'm in the airport in Miami, which is huge. And, of course, everybody's going everywhere. And there was a woman in garb probably from Africa or so, in her headgear and garb, but she was carrying 3 babies. She had like a 3-year-old walking, a little boy that was walking, all confident. She had another little girl, maybe 2, that was crying and screaming. She had a baby in a pouch that was like 9 months old, and the baby was screaming. And you could tell they probably hadn't been changed because you kind of smelled the girl might have food in her pants or whatever. But this poor woman is walking, and people are walking, scorning her, carrying these 3 babies, and they're scorning her because these 3 kids are fussing and screaming, and they kind of smelled. Well, obviously, if you've been a mother, this woman only has 2 arms, and so she's trying to control these 3 children. So my first instinct was, excuse me, can I help you? And she hands me the baby and picks up the other crying little girl. Grabbed the boy, because the boy, I think he would have flew an airplane if you let him. He was so confident he was going. But the point was, after I could only walk her to her gate, I was carrying this baby and could only walk her to the gate, the other little girl stopped crying. So at the gate, they wouldn't let me go any further, and she said, please don't leave me, don't leave me. And I says, I'm sorry, I can't go any further. And another woman picked up. She says, I got it from here. And so she picked up and took her. The point was, everybody was scorning this woman, but until they see you set that example as a light worker, I mean, you can't help it when you're traveling with kids. That's a major disaster, you know, right there. That's a huge job. But to